Granted, it had its whole Beatlemania pop kind of appeal,
Sure.
but it wasn't only that. They were incredibly gifted songwriters, incredibly gifted musicians, and they took
Mm,
rock and roll, which was something. It's kind of like a
right.
fun kind of music, and they turned it into art, like for real.
Right.
And they were really the ones that kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it further. And then there was like everybody followed in the wake of that. All the different
Mm,
musicians followed in the wake of that, and all the entire youth, of the world practically was following in the wake of that, and not just certainly how they dressed and so on, but more importantly how they would think, and the fact that George Harrison was bringing in at first subtly and then eventually especially when he broke out solo, really explicitly,
mm.
his involvement and his fascination with Eastern spirituality and with Krishna consciousness in particular was a world-changing thing. It would have never had nearly the impact if it wasn't for the Beatles. It was
Yeah.
it's truly a historical thing, and it was kind of brave of him, to just kind of put that out there to the world.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Mumbai, India, in beautiful Maharashtra, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a Bhakti Yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and live from Rishikesh, co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Thursday, February 26, 2026. This is episode 1738. Good morning, beautiful people. Haribol, everybody. Welcome, everybody. We are in Maharashtra, Mumbai, and we have 3 days here, Kaustubha. Me and Pranapriya are getting our heads together.
Are you getting your heads together? Or are you getting your pool time together, lounging? Tell the truth.
Oh,
Or
Prabhu,
that's how you're getting your heads together.
if you understood my schedule, if you understood the strict disciplinary schedule I've
That's
been on
right.
the last month,
Okay, let it loose now.
check it out. I've got 6 pillars is finished.
Yeah.
11 of my new Monday morning messages. My if you're on my mailing list, you'll get this. You'll get this. Sign up for my mailing list. Go to raghunath.yoga, and you will get
Yes.
Monday morning upgrade with Ray Raghunath Capo. Boom. That's it.
Whoa.
Monday morning.
Okay.
It's like a mini. So that way we'll do Wisdom Sages Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll put this out on Monday. It's like a 18 to 24 minute mini short form podcast or message, and it's just a little burst to start
Okay.
your week.
18 to 24.
18 to 24 minutes. That's what I'm shooting for. That's the
Okay.
short form. It's made for Kali Yuga. Manda Samanda Matayo. Men have short lives. Their minds are always disturbed. You need something little nugget, bite size.
Okay.
That's what it's a Monday morning shot in the arm. Yeah, so we got a lot done, and we are here this weekend. Just first of all, we are underslept like anything, like crazy. Due to my sleep apnea, I have to sleep on my side, and our bed was as hard as a stone, and my pillow was hard as a stone. So we just could not sleep. We are in a hotel, 3 days, editing 6 pillars, going through the entire thing, and finishing up the copy for 11 more of these podcasts.
All right.
Yeah, so we're really successful. You know what? We were leaving. I got to just share this with you. We were leaving the GV at 8 a.m. this morning, and we ran into Radhanath Swami, and he goes, "Come with me. Do you have time to see?" And he just started taking on us a 2.5 hour whirlwind tour of these places that you and I have never even gone at the GEV, including, you're going to be so excited for this.
Yeah.
If you go beyond where the cows are kept, beyond the Bhajan Ashram, he took me to where they do cold pressed oil making with oxen, and they make they have these old-fashioned grinding stones, which they don't
Well, like
even make
mustard
anymore.
oil, or what are they
They
making?
make mustard oil. They make like flaxseed oil. They make coconut oil. It's unbelievable. And
Ox
then they
power.
grind, yeah, ox power. Then they have grinding stones for flax and flour. Wheat berries who make wheat flour, millet flour. It's unbelievable. It's like you're living in the Amish country. It's like when the world collapses, they're going to be the only ones eating chapatis. Them and the Amish.
I don't think the Amish make chapatis.
They don't make chapatis. I think Radha Swami's people are going to be the only ones making good chapatis. So that was really nice. When he goes, but wait, I really want to show you something. Show you something else. And he took me to this banyan tree, this beautiful banyan tree, and it's way back there. And then right next to the banyan tree is a gigantic well. So 20 feet down is crystal clear water. I was like, where's this coming from? Rain catchment? He goes, no. It's all coming from the earth. He goes, and you can swim in this if it gets hot. You can just jump off the side and swim in this. And then that brahmachari is like, yes, we do it all the time. So I'm taking you swimming. I know you like swimming holes. That's going to be our new Govardhan Eco Village swimming hole.
Sounds good.
Then he took us to the forest and he goes, this would be a great place for you to have satsangs up here. Beautiful, really nice. In the woods, on a hill, on the mountain.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was a very, very special morning this morning. And
What a blessed life you lead, Raghunath. What a blessed life you lead.
What a blessed life I lead. I feel that way. And I tell you, it was really good. Now I know why all the acharyas write books in holy places, because you can really, really lock into something higher. I'm so glad I finished this book at the Govardhan Eco Village instead of going down to Goa. I love Goa, you know that. But it's not necessarily a holy place.
Yeah.
Because there's just not many sadhus around, And the consciousness was just so high at the Eco Village, and the people there are so impressive.
Beautiful.
Prabhu.
All right, Raghu, you're flying high.
And I'm seeing your photos and hearing these lectures from Indrajumna Swami. It's like you guys have a full-on Shuddha Bhakta, pure devotional service program going on in Rishikesh. I can't wait to meet up with everybody.
It just doesn't stop. It's like we've already been doing a festival for like 2 weeks.
Right.
We're not halfway through. We're about a third of the way through or something.
It's like a festival that never ends. It's like a carnival, practically speaking, except a carnival that opens at 5 a.m. and closes at 11:30 at night.
And at the same time, it's not kind of like, oh, we're just doing the same thing every day. It's every day and every night. It's fresh and dynamic. And, and like I say, I like to, at the end of the whole thing, I wander into the kirtan. It's usually Madhava leading at night.
Yeah.
And every night, it's just like you walk, you exist in there saying, what a wonderful, beautiful world this is. If we just all if we just all learn to sing, glorify Krishna together, sing together, be happy together. And we're doing it right here every night in a powerful way.
It's such a good way to put it. It's like, can't we, as different people with different ideas, come together under dignity for each other, treating each other with dignity and putting God at the center? Can't we just do that? Put everything else aside?
Simplify everything.
Keep it super simple. It doesn't mean you don't have to agree with everybody 100% on every detail. Who's going to do that? Twins are not going to agree with each other. Husbands and wife are not going to agree with each other. Let's agree on the basics. We're all spirit souls. There's a God in control, and we can't control everything. Things are in God's hand. Let's just treat each other with a due type of respect.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's great. I'm looking forward to join you. Radha Swami offers his obeisances to you.
Oh.
Yeah. He said, tell Kaustubha Prabhu, offer my obeisances to him.
I miss him.
Both Indrajumna Swami. And I'm looking forward to seeing some of our people who are going to be there too. This is a special episode today. It is a great Mahant's birthday yesterday. And we didn't want to, because we didn't do the show yesterday, we had to do we wanted to extend that birthday to today. And that is George Harrison's appearance day. We say appearance because ordinary people aren't born. We feel when people are sent to this world to do something special, it's not a birth like a human birth. It's an appearance. And he was a great soul. He touched the lives of so many people, and he turned people and accelerated people's spiritual path. And it's very beautiful. And we're going to invite Greg DeGesu, the informant, we call him, because he's always got some valuable information on the podcast. But before we do that, Prana Priya G, do you have any announcements? Or Kastuba, do you have any announcements? Next podcast is Monday.
Every day I'm doing a class in the morning and a Q&A in the evening. They're all going up online, and I think they're getting connected. Maybe Chabuji can tell us if they're all getting shared on the platform. They should. Hopefully they are.
Great.
So there's a lot of content.
Sage community member, join it. Hear Kastuba's magic every day. I would love to give some classes while I'm there too, some Q&As too.
Do it,
take a break,
Baba.
I'll jump in on that.
Okay.
And be a part of that.
Yeah, we could do it together. Maybe a little togetherness, Baba.
We can do it together. Hold pinkies under the table, not show anybody. Just you and I'll know it.
No, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it publicly. Okay.
That's okay. We'll hide it under the table.
Nothing secret. Maybe I could share something as we get into this. I told you the other day that I went to visit the cave, right? We went to visit this Tatwada Baba cave. We were meditating there. After that, we went to the Beatles ashram.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Now, the Beatles ashram, it's not their ashram, but it was the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he was the first guru of the Beatles.
My God, what a facility that was. I don't know how they lost it, but...
How cool is that place?
My goodness.
I don't know if they built it on government land or what happened, but the government...
Or that the government took it over or something. I don't know what happened. But they're kind of like fixing some stuff up, so I don't know what the deal with that place is, but it's a large property.
It's super cool.
It is an ideal location.
Yeah. Do you remember that student of mine wanted to buy it?
No.
Yeah,
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. Anyway.
So anyway, there's a lot of photos. There's some rooms there with lots of photos of when the Beatles were there. And it's kind of nice to see those photos when you're there in that place. You can really get a feel that, okay, they were just sitting right there. And you knew that George was going through his thing and while he was there. And then you go into that one kind of hall where there's like all these paintings, far out, kind of like murals, kind of graffiti art stuff. Yeah. I shared one photo there of some of us under George.
It's beautiful. Beautiful
stuff.
That?
Yeah. Did you see that photo? I got it on the chat board, Roger.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Check it out.
Oh, yeah.
But as I was there, it did occur to me that historically, in the 60s and in the 70s, there was a bit of a wave of guru figures, yogis of different sorts, some more sincere than others, maybe. But in any case, there was an interest that grew in bhakti and in Vedanta and all of that, yoga.
Sure.
And I really did think, it really did occur to me that if it wasn't for the Beatles, I mean, the Beatles, there's, you could say maybe there's people nowadays that sell more records than they sold, although practically not. But, like certain people get more number one hits or something like that.
Sure.
But nobody's had the influence that the Beatles had, cultural influence,
It's impressive.
There's just nothing quite like the phenomena of what was the Beatles.
Well,
and
one of the points is, let me jump in for a second.
Yeah.
To say it's we can hear a song by a pop singer nowadays, and it might sell millions and millions. But they spoke to people at a time where they were looking for something deeper. They weren't happy with the status quo.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it changed people perhaps in a deeper way. It wasn't just merely entertainment. It was like a lifestyle shift, a paradigm shift. And that's probably why it still lasts today.
And that was, granted, it had its whole Beatlemania pop kind of appeal.
Sure.
But but it wasn't only that. They were incredibly gifted songwriters, incredibly gifted musicians, and they took rock and roll, which was something. It's kind of like a fun kind of music, and they turned it into art, like for real. And they were really the ones that kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it further. And then there was like everybody followed in the wake of that. All the different musicians followed in the wake of that, and all the entire youth, of the world practically was following in the wake of that. And not just certainly how they dressed and so on, but more importantly how they would think, and the fact that George Harrison was bringing in, at first subtly, and then eventually, especially when he broke out solo, really explicitly, his involvement and his fascination with Eastern spirituality and with Krishna consciousness in particular was a world-changing thing. It would have never had nearly the impact if it wasn't for the Beatles. It's truly a historical thing, and it was kind of brave of him, to just kind of put that out there to the world.
You know what? To sort of come out of the closet, like, I endorse these guys.
Yeah,
that's a huge thing, especially when you are an influencer before people even knew what an influencer was. But influencer of the highest type, with substance, with deep respect. And he wrote the introduction for the Krishna Book. Do you know, you could probably guess, like, hey, you like the Beatles? Check this out. Any book distributor could sell a book. Just check this out. George wrote
the introduction.
Do you mind if I read that introduction? I think it's a really cool thing.
Read that introduction.
So this is a podcast on the Srimad Bhagavatam. The 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, if you don't know, is all Krishna's lifestyle, or Krishna's life, rather, from when he was born to when he left the planet. Prabhupada, in fear, like, I might die before I get to the 10th canto, he did the 10th canto first, and he mixed in the purport so people wouldn't get confused that Krishna is the god of promiscuity, so people understood the substance of who Krishna is. And so he made the Krishna Book, which is really the 10th canto with the purports blended in. And here's what George wrote for the introduction. Some don't real. Here it says, everybody is looking for Krishna. Some don't realize that they are, but they are. Krishna is God, the source of all that exists, the cause of all that is, was, or ever will be. As God is unlimited, he has many names. Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Rama, all are Krishna, all are one. God's not abstract. He has both an impersonal and a personal aspects to his personality, which is supreme, is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. As a single drop of water has the same qualities as the ocean of water, so has our consciousness the qualities of God's consciousness. But through our identification and attachment with material energy, physical body, sense pleasures, material possessions, ego, etc., our true transcendental consciousness has been polluted, and like a dirty mirror, it's unable to reflect a pure image. With many lives, our association with the temporary has grown. This impermanent body, a bag of bones and flesh, is mistaken for our true self, and we have accepted this temporary condition to be final. Before I go on, I just want to say, here's George Harrison, whatever, how old, 24 years old, I'm not sure how old he was, but he's talking like a self-realized soul here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's reading these books and contemplating them and discussing them. There's no doubt. He's
right.
He's taking it serious.
Through all ages, great saints have remained as living proof that this non-temporary, permanent state of God consciousness can be revived in all living souls. Each soul is potentially divine. Krishna says in Bhagavad-gītā, steady in the self, being freed from all material contamination, the yogi achieves the highest perfectional stage of happiness in touch with the supreme consciousness. Kastuba, it's also like, here is a guy, too, that can have anything at his fingertips. Anything, any person, any, beautiful woman, go anywhere in the world. and he's getting it there. Like, like our great philosopher of our time, Mick Jagger, said, I can't get no satisfaction. I can have everything I want, but I have no satisfaction doing it. And he's getting this realization so clear when you're on a spiritual path. When you're on a material path, you're like, well, maybe I'm just doing it wrong. Maybe I'm not having sex right, or maybe I'm taking the wrong drug, or maybe I got to try a different flavor of sense gratification. But George gets it. You could tell everything just clicked in for him.
No doubt. No doubt.
If there's a God, I want to see him. It's pointless to believe in something without proof. And Krishna consciousness and meditation are methods where you can actually obtain God perception. You can actually see God and hear him and play with him. It might sound crazy, but he is actually there, actually with you. There are many yogic paths, Raja, Jnana, Hatha, Kriya, Karma, Bhakti, which are all acclaimed by the masters of each method. Swami Bhaktivedanta is, as his title says, a bhakti yogi, following the path of devotion. By serving God through each thought, word, and deed, and by chanting his holy names, the devotee quickly develops God consciousness by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I request that you take advantage of this Krishna book and enter into its understanding. I also request that you make an appointment to meet your God now through the self-liberating process of yoga, parentheses, union, and give peace a chance. George Harrison, Los Angeles, February 16th, 1970. Yeah, he was still a kid, 1970.
He was 27.
He's 27.
Yeah. I know. I want to reach out and bring Greg on, but maybe just share one more thought. Is in relation to what you were sharing, that on the material level, he was a person that achieved, just went to the top of it all, wealth, fame, et cetera, et cetera. And rather than being bewildered by it, he tasted it, saw it for what it was, and reached for something more. That also happened in terms of like counterculture too. There was, in that summer of love in '67, he went to San Francisco and he walked through Haight-Ashbury, and it was like kind of a big deal, like, oh my God, it's George Harrison, and people were all around. He really looked at what it was, and rather than thinking this is far out, he kind of saw through that too. And he saw, just like there's all these kids that are just kind of losing it. They're just kind of, he understood about the spirit of the time and all that. It was a lot, his music that really set the tone for so much of it. But he could also see that this wasn't going anywhere, that just, like this kind of reckless, kind of drug-induced approach to life, really doesn't pan out. And and I think he felt somewhat responsible for it. And therefore he took spiritual life all that much more seriously and really dove into it more. So what a unique person.
It's not like we all won't get those realizations. And I think especially the devotees going through that summer of love, who just decided, I want to become a devotee of Krishna. I think they got those realizations, but he just had a bigger platform to tell the world about it. Like we were reading, and we interviewed last week Mahamaya, lovely lady who got into bhakti in 1971, also around the same time George was getting into it. And she said the same thing. She goes, I was into the whole summer of love and the hippie movement and free love, and I just realized there's a bunch of men who just want to use me. And I went to it's like it was not so glamorous. It sounds sexy and fun. These guys just wanted to use me, and after a while, that gets old very quick. And she mentioned, Prana, I think you remember this. She mentioned, like, I went into the temple, and for the first time, a bunch of men didn't want to use me for my body. And it was, they didn't want anything from me. They didn't want, Prana said they didn't, no one was trying to take advantage of me. I think that's what she said. And what a beautiful way to put it.
Nice.
That's transcendental. Surrounding yourself with transcendentalists is beautiful. Huh.
All right.
Okay. You want to bring in the
let's bring in Greg.
The informant.
The informant.
Greg Gase, come on down.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for asking me to do this, and excuse any inaccuracies about anything, because I'm by no means an expert on the Beatles or George Harrison, but I've been a lifelong fan. And, yesterday George would have been 83.
Hey, Greg,
he,
before you start,
yeah.
introduce yourself.
Oh.
Tell people where you're, just briefly where you're from, how you got into the podcast, when
Sure.
did you get into Bhakti, etc.
Well, the first seed, yeah. I
You're
live
a regular
in Atlanta.
listener on the podcast. You're here
Yes.
every day,
Yes.
live.
And I live in Atlanta currently, but I'm from North Jersey, New York City. And I've always, I followed the Beatles in a lot of ways. I'm a musician, I'm a songwriter. And when I got into college, I, started getting into psychedelics and whatnot and exploring music that way. And that was a direct influence, of course, from the Beatles. I've always been a John Lennon guy, and George has been creeping up as my spiritual life progresses. But the seed of Krishna was planted in 1985. My brother got married in Finland, and I had a day where I could get away from my family in Helsinki. I was only 20 years old, and I thought they were hippie girls, but they were devotees, asked me if I would like free Indian food. And this long-haired rocker would have been a fool to say no. So I went, it was like almost materially. I went like, yeah, where are you going? I'll follow you. And they led me right into the temple of Helsinki there. And talk about the Beatles' power. One of the first things I saw when I walked in was the books, and I saw Chant and Be Happy. And there's John and George on the cover. And I was like, wait a minute. And I started going, oh, right. Yeah, Krishna, right.
Wow.
And so that's where the seed was planted. I got back to Rutgers, where I went to college in New Jersey. And I held regulatory principles for about a month. It just wasn't the right time for me. And, I had a band that was becoming popular after college and all that stuff. But when I went over to the student center, the Krishnas were there doing an artwork exhibition from the Tawako Temple in North Jersey, which, according to my mother, because it was a town or 2 towns away from where I grew up, that was where the Moonies lived. That was the word out in the suburban streets, was the Moonies lived there. So, you were supposed to avoid it. I started taking friends to Sunday feasts. It was really beautiful. And however, it didn't stick. I didn't have the right introduction. This is in 1985.
Sure.
So it's in the heart of the Krishna Consciousness 1.0. So then, that was planted. Then life goes on, blah, 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 Buddhism, strong atheism for, a long time. I mean, it's still an undercurrent I fight. And then after being disappointed in having 2 Buddhist teachers go down in the Me Too movement kind of a thing, I just was like, I don't know. I just want to be happy. I want to dance. I want to, wait a minute. And I was living in Atlanta. I'm like, there's a Krishna temple down Ponce de Leon Avenue. And I just immediately jumped in my car, drove there, and met Kamalakshi, who was a devotee who was living there. And I said, please take me to see the deities. So that was a year before Wisdom of the Sages. So that seed was planted, and, and then the podcast came up right in the beginning of COVID, and I know COVID was terrible to a lot of people, but I think a lot of us here will say COVID was a transformation for a lot of us.
COVID saved our lives in a lot of ways, huh?
Yeah, no, it provided this opportunity of this technology, this dissemination of this amazing information, the Vedas. How else would you access this? You would access this in college by taking an Eastern philosophy class or something,
And what to speak of devotees who are opted in Hare Krishnas, buy books, but never read the books. So for me, it was a chance this is accountability for me to read every day publicly. It was great. My number one reason for doing the podcast was for myself, out of a selfish way, that I got to take care of myself before I can take care of anybody else. So, okay, so onward. Give us some light on George, please.
Well, as you were saying before, Kastuba, there was little indications within the Beatles. George was a student of Ravi Shankar, so he was really the first rock and roll musician to pick up a sitar, and you hear it in Norwegian Wood. And then on Sergeant Pepper, you hear it, Within You, Without You, which is a pretty trippy, deep song.
Yeah.
But still, it wasn't overt yet. You know what I mean? It wasn't like he was still within the confines of the Beatles. Of like, they had their formula. Ringo gets a song on every record. George gets a couple songs on every record. There was a formula they followed. But when they disbanded in 1970, what's interesting is that each Beatle put out a solo record immediately. Now, those solo records totally reflected each of their personalities. So the magic of what they were as the Beatles was now each one's magic of their own personality. So, for instance, John Lennon in 1969 was kicking heroin. So by 1970, when he released Plastic Ono Band, him and Yoko were with Arthur Janoff doing primal scream therapy. Right. Because they realized John had so much pain from his youth. He saw his mother get hit by a car by an off-duty drunk police officer and killed at an early age. And John was a fighter. He had the long hair later and give peace a chance. But man, he had violence in him, and he was aware of that as time went on. So that record stripped down, raw, like in your face. And McCartney did what McCartney you would expect him to do. He was a genius musician. He recorded his first record and played all of the instruments on it. But not only that, in 1970, nobody had a home studio, but Paul McCartney did.
Sure.
So he did everything at home. And that's like Maybe I'm Amazed is on that record. It's the big hit. John's record, I think Working Class Hero is probably the biggest song on that. Ringo, in true Ringo form, puts out Sentimental Journey. And what is that? It's all cover songs of songs from his childhood in Liverpool that he remembers. So it's very, very nostalgic, and it's very Ringo, and it's very good. Now, George, he's like a horse, like ready to race. He's been repressed for so long that he puts out All Things Must Pass. And not only puts out a record, he puts out a triple album. And that just shows...
That was a triple album?
Yeah, it's 6 sides.
He was writing songs all those years, but he was only able to get a couple on each record. So he just had this buildup of material.
Yeah,
wow.
and within that, My Sweet Lord, I mean, it was the single off of that album. And that's like the flame that spread right there. I mean, we all know, and people are hearing for the first time, oh, hallelujah, hallelujah. What was genius is the hallelujah, the Christians are like, yes, hallelujah, brings them
hallelujah, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Yeah. Wait a second, you just switched it out.
Yeah, but it also turned some people's ears. And coming out of the 60s, a lot of people were psychedelicized, and a lot of people, like you said, had it, they were burned out. The Rolling Stones at Altamont was considered the end of the peace and love of the 60s because the Hells Angels stabbed somebody in the audience. It was a bad scene. I think the Grateful Dead came in a helicopter and they saw what was going on and they said, we're out of here. And they took off. They didn't even play. I mean, it was like just really negative vibes. So it's interesting that George then comes out with this record and, people really attach to it. And that song, I'm sure, has made its way through churches and, all kinds of places. It was just universal. It was really universal. But, and then in 71, Prabhupada sends the 3 couples over, to England to find the Beatles, because Prabhupada said, there's something good there. You need to go there. You need to find them. And they found George, at an Apple Records holiday party. And, very quickly, George said, let's record a record. So in 1971, after All Things Must Pass, he put together the Radha Krishna Temple album. Which
I thought that the single, I think, was from 1969.
They met him in 69, I believe.
Yeah, 69. I'm sorry. Yeah, they met him while the Beatles were still together.
Right.
And they did the single, the Hare Krishna Mantra, which was like they were on top of the pops.
A global hit, peaking number 12 on the UK charts, Harrison plays the harmonium and bass on the track, and the success led to the devotees appearing on BBC's Top of the Pops. So that if you don't know what Top of the Pops is, that is the equivalent to what American Bandstand. They bring on whoever's like on the
Even more, because I think they have it on like a Friday night or something. Like people really watch it a lot, you know?
Yeah, it was a real big thing, Top of the Pops. And and I think you sort of lip sync it, something like that.
Yeah, and these guys. I mean, think about it. When the Beatles ended, Ringo was 30, John was 30, Paul was 28, and George was 27. I mean, I couldn't even tie my shoes by that age. You know what I mean? It's like, and they changed the world, but they still continued to change in their own ways as their solo careers went on. So now, for me, the real spiritual record for George is the second record, Living in the Material World. That one, he is so overt everywhere on that record about his love of God, love of Krishna. And
he really comes out of the closet loudly.
Yeah, and Give Me Love was the lead off track, which is a huge single. You know, give me love, give me love, give me peace on earth. And that was the big hit off of that. But I find that the song Living in the Material World, the title track, you know, this came out in 73, is incredible. I mean, the things he sang in this song are just amazing. And Raghunath, could you recite it, or do you have it up? I sent it on WhatsApp. If not, I can jump in, whatever.
It's on the notes. Oh yeah, it's I'm living in the material world, living in the material world. Can't say what I'm doing here, but I hope to see much clearer after living in the material world. I got born into the material world, getting worn out in the material world. Used my body like a car, taking me both near and far. Met my friends all in the material world. Met them all here in the material world. John and Paul here in the material world. Though we started out quite poor, we got Richie on a tour. What does that mean?
It means Richard Starkey is Ringo, but we got Richie. Right. We also got Rich.
We all got Rich. We all got Richie on a tour. Got caught up in the material world. From the spiritual sky, such sweet memories have I. To the spiritual sky, how I pray, yes, I pray, that I won't get lost or go astray. Right? This is almost like Mirabai speaking, you know? As I'm fated for the material world, get frustrated in the material world, senses never gratified, only swelling like a tide. That could drown me in the material world. From the spiritual sky, such sweet memories have I. To the spiritual sky, how I pray, yes, I pray, that I won't get lost or go astray. While I'm living in the material world, not much giving in the material world. Got a lot of work to do. Try to get a message through and get back out of this material world. I'm living in the material world, living in the material world. I hope to get out of this place by Lord Sri Krishna's grace, my salvation from the material world. Woo!
Yeah.
He spells it out in beautiful poem. You know, like the bard of our time, of a generation.
Yeah.
And then, as I was saying earlier, I think like if you want to go for a nugget, you know, and when George passed, his wife Olivia and Donnie and Shama Sundar and I think Eric Idle was his good friend. There was just a select amount of people that were with him, reading from the Gita and chanting. And I believe it was Eric Idle said George was so at peace with passing. You know, he said, George even said, I don't think I will be returning to the material world again. So, yeah, he had that. But his last words are pretty amazing. He said, everything else can wait, but the search for God cannot wait, and love one another.
Wow. Nice.
Those were his last words.
Those were his last words.
There's a lot of mystery in where he was when he passed. And our good friend Shama Sundar Prabhu, who was one of the first to meet George as a devotee in that year when they went to Apple Records, you know, he shared that he got a call. He was in India and he got a call from George, and Mukunda Maharaj, who they both met they were the oldest friends of George. They both got a call, please come visit me. I'm leaving my body. And they both left wherever they were and went to his side. So what a blessing, huh? Here's George coming out of the closet, sort of like putting his reputation could potentially at risk, and just saying, this is what I am, and this is how to get out of this mess. And now he's at time of death, and he calls the devotees to be with him as he leaves this world. How auspicious. What a life. What a perfected life.
Yeah, it was very, very quiet and secure, his whole death. I mean, he was cremated and spread it into the Ganga before even an announcement was made publicly that he had passed. So
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty secretive. He had security. I mean, I think it was Paul McCartney had rented or bought this house out in California and said to George, this is where you can be. He provided, George maintained his relationships. John and him had some issues, but on George, they all played together still. I mean, John had George and Ringo on. What's that?
Did they ever do a reunion?
The closest to a reunion was when they did that, the big documentary with George Martin. There were three of them. It was after John died. I mean, it would have had to happen before 1980. But they did do Free as a Bird, which was John had a demo, and then they overdubbed to it, which is really cool. There was a couple songs, but that was the closest to a reunion.
Okay, informant, I'm going to ask Kastuba to read a little from Chant and Be Happy. These are conversations that he had with Prabhupada.
They're the kind of interview with Mukunda Maharaj does with him, with Mukunda, who, as was being mentioned, he was in 1969, three devotee married couples went to London, and they kind of just said, let's go meet the Beatles, and they figured it out, and they did, and when they did, they're very pleased to find out that George was just waiting to meet them. He was like, I've been waiting to meet you guys. Where have you been?
Eager to meet them. How crazy is that?
So I'll read a bit from this. It's a conversation between Mukunda Goswami and George Harrison. So Mukunda Goswami begins, oftentimes you speak of yourself as a plainclothes devotee, a closet yogi, or closet Krishna. And millions of people all over the world have been introduced to the chanting by your songs. But what about you? How did you first come in contact with Krishna? George replies, through my visits to India. So by the time the Hare Krishna movement first came to England in 1969, John and I had already gotten a hold of Prabhupada's first album, Krishna Consciousness. That was a record he made in New York City of him chanting.
Do you know anything about that record? You want to share anything about that?
I just know that it was in the very earliest days. It must have been 1966 or maybe very early. Was that
called the Happening record?
I think it is called the Happening record. And here it just says Krishna Consciousness. And by some Krishna miracle, Srila Prabhupada, while he was there in New York, he would just use this little bongo drum to lead kirtan with. And the day before they went to Times Square to make that, they had some studio time booked in Times Square, some kid showed up with a mridanga, like with a real Bengali, authentic mridanga. And Prabhupada is like, can we borrow this for the day? At first he was like, no, but then he relented. And so Prabhupada had a real mridanga to play on that.
That is unbelievable, if not miraculous.
And there's so many. Prabhupada gives absolutely beautiful instructions about the meaning that any practitioner, it was meant to be an introductory record, but anyone that hears that can be transformed by Srila Prabhupada's instructions on chanting on that.
And so somehow that went viral. That got to the Beatles.
It got out.
They were playing it over and over.
Yeah. He said, we had played it a lot and liked it, he and John Lennon. That was the first time I'd ever heard the chanting of the Mahamantra. Mukunda replies, even though you and John Lennon played Srila Prabhupada's record a lot and had chanted quite a bit on your own, you'd never really met any of the devotees. Yet when Gurudas, Shamasundar, and I, the first Hare Krishna devotees sent from America to open a temple in London, first came to England, you co-signed the lease for our first temple in central London and bought the manor for us, which has provided a place for literally hundreds of thousands of people to learn about Krishna consciousness, and financed the first printing of the book Krishna. You hadn't really known us for a very long time at all. Wasn't this kind of a sudden change for you? George replies, not really. for I always felt at home with Krishna. You see, it was already part of me. I think it's something that's been with me from my previous birth. Your coming to England and all that was just like another piece of the jigsaw puzzle that was coming together to make a complete picture.
Wow.
It had been slowly fitting together. That's why I responded to you all the way I did when you first came to London. Let's face it, if you're going to have to stand up and be counted, I figured I'd rather be with these guys than with those guys over there. He says, it's like that. I mean, I'd rather be one of the devotees of God than one of the straight, so-called sane or normal people who just don't understand that man is a spiritual being, that he has a soul. And I felt comfortable with you all, too, kind of like we'd known each other before. It was a pretty natural thing, really. And Mukunda replies, George, you were a member of the Beatles. Excuse me. Undoubtedly the greatest single pop group in music history, one that influenced not only music, but whole generations of young people as well. After the dissolution of the group, you went on to emerge as a solo superstar with albums like All Things Must Pass, the country's top-selling album for 7 weeks in a row, and its hit single My Sweet Lord, which was #1 in America for 2 months. That was followed by Living in the Material World, #1 on the Billboard for 5 weeks, and a million-selling LP. One song on that album, Give Me Love, was a smash hit for 6 weeks straight. The concert for Bangladesh, with Ringo Starr, Eric Clapton, Bob Dylan, Leon Russell, and Billy Preston, was a phenomenal success, and once the LP and concert film were released, would become the single most successful rock benefit project ever. So you had material success. You'd been everywhere, done everything, yet at the same time you were on a spiritual quest. What was it that really got you started on your spiritual journey? George replies, it wasn't until the experience of the 60s really hit. You know, having been successful in meeting everybody we thought worth meeting and finding out they weren't worth meeting, and having had and having had more hit records than everybody else, and having done it bigger than everybody else. It was like reaching the top of a wall and then looking over and seeing that there's so much more on the other side. So I felt it was part of my duty to say, oh, okay, maybe you're thinking this is all you need to be. Maybe you're thinking this is all you need to be, rich and famous, but actually it isn't. Mukunda replies, George, in your recently published autobiography, I, Me, Mine, you said your song, Awaiting on You All, is about japa yoga, or chanting mantras on beads. You explained that a mantra is mystical energy encased in a sound structure, and that each mantra contains within its vibrations a certain power. But of all mantras, you stated that the Maha Mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra, has been prescribed as the easiest and surest way for attaining God realization in this present age. As a practitioner of japa yoga, what realizations have you experienced from chanting? George, Prabhupada told me once that we should just keep chanting all the time, or as much as possible. Once you do that, you realize the benefit. The response that comes from chanting is in the form of bliss or spiritual happiness, which is a much higher taste than any happiness found here in the material world. That's why I say that the more you do it, the more you don't want to stop, because it feels so nice and peaceful. Mukunda, what is it about the mantra that brings about this feeling of peace and happiness? George, the word Hare is the word that calls upon the energy that's around the Lord. If you say the mantra enough, you build up an identification with God. God's all happiness, all bliss, and by chanting his names, we connect with him. So it's really a process of actually having a realization of God, which all becomes clear with the expanded state of consciousness that develops when you chant. Like I said in the introduction I wrote for Prabhupada's Krishna Book some years ago, if there's a God, I want to see him. It's pointless to believe in something without proof, and Krishna consciousness and meditation are methods where you can actually obtain God perception. Mukunda, is it instantaneous process or gradual? George, you don't get it in 5 minutes. It's something that takes time, but it works because it's a direct process of obtaining God and will help us to have pure consciousness and good perception that is above the normal everyday state of consciousness. Mukunda, how do you feel after chanting for a long time? George, in the life I lead, I find that I sometimes have opportunities when I can really get it going. And the more I do it, I find the harder it is to stop. And I don't want to lose the feeling it gives me. You know, this, I just have to say, just hear him say this. What's going on in these kirtans every night here in Rishikesh is you step in there and you just can't believe how good everybody feels. You're just looking around and you can't believe how good everybody feels, and you just don't want it to stop. And then everybody walks away from it. Even the next day, like I'm chanting the melody that was being chanted the night before, and Charu turns around and says, "That's exactly what's going through my head right now." It's like you chant and you chant and you chant, and it's not an ordinary thing. So he continues. He says, for example, I once chanted the Hare Krishna mantra all the way from France to Portugal nonstop. I drove for about 23 hours and chanted all the way. It gets you feeling a bit invincible. The funny thing was that I didn't even know where I was going. I mean, I had bought a map and I knew basically which way I was aiming, but I couldn't speak French, Spanish, or Portuguese. But none of that seemed to matter, Once you get chanting, then things start to happen transcendentally.
Wow. So beautiful, huh?
Yeah.
Makes me want to chant just hearing that.
Yeah.
When you hear people with faith in the holy name, it makes you want to start chanting the holy name.
Yeah. And
faith
something
comes from realization, really. It's not just like, I just believe in this. It's reasonable faith because you've experienced something different from it. We just did this kirtan last night for the Jiva Mukti people. And it's like, they were in so much joy. They would come up to me every day. Hey, how are we? When are we going to chant again? It was just incredibly sweet. And it is the powerful, transformational mode of transcendence for Kali Yuga. It's easy, it's simple, it's catchy, it's fun, it's the party we want to have.
And at the same time, the deepest, most esoteric, beautiful, aesthetic, divine love is contained within it. And we can go and we can dig into it. There's no bottom of it. You can just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper into it.
But we want to thank the informant.
Thank you, informant.
Thank you, Greg DeGasu. Appreciate you. Thanks for being a dedicated listener to the podcast. Every day he's here. You want to join us live, go to our website, wisdomofthesages.com. There you'll find the link of how to get here on the Zoom group. And you can wake up and listen to us, or maybe not wake up if you're in another country. But thanks for all the steady Zoomers that are out there. And for you others, you know who you are. You just listen on Apple Podcasts. That's okay, too. Let's connect in person sometime. Wisdom of the Sages retreat is happening Memorial Day weekend. All glories to George Harrison for all of his service. And thanks for everybody. Beautiful day for a beautiful day. Let's hear this song by George.